The paper in Clara Garrett's hands weighed more than the empty bucket at her feet. It was a notice of reclamation, signed by the county clerk, authored by Mr. Miller, the town's most polished land speculator. His boots shone like an insult against the cracked gray earth. He stood 10 yards away, ledger tucked under his arm, wearing the expression of a man who had already spent the money he hadn't yet stolen. The notice was simple. By November 14th, any parcel within the Three Oaks boundary without a habitable, permanent structure would revert to public auction. Miller had given her 3 months. He called it generosity. Her husband had vanished since the spring storm. The land had produced nothing but dust. The well was 30 feet deep and bone dry. "Mrs. Garrett," he said, "a tent is not a house, and a hole in the ground is not a farm. I expect the keys or a deed of sale by the first frost." He didn't wait for a reply. He turned his horse around and rode back toward the settlement. Clara didn't cry. She calculated. She had no lumber, no money for a mason, no crew, no savings, no husband. What she had was the well, the one thing Miller considered a liability, and a dead man's ledger. Her father had been a drainage engineer for the railroad. He spoke of gradients and hydrostatic pressure the way other men quoted scripture. He had left her a small leather-bound book filled with diagrams of culverts, stone footings, and subterranean chambers. One margin note, circled twice, read, "Below 12 feet, the earth holds its temperature regardless of the season, approximately 55 degrees, constant." Clara read that line by kerosene lamp until it was memorized. Then she reread the legal notice. It said, "habitable and permanent." It did not say which direction the structure had to face. The contract had a loophole. She intended to use it. She found the old tripod hoist her husband had abandoned in the shed. She rigged a 3-to-1 pulley system that let her lift 100 pounds of earth while pulling with 35. She descended into the shaft on day 12 with a short-handled pick and a sense of desperate geometry. The work was merciless. 14 hours a day. Strike the clay, fill the bucket, climb the ladder, haul the pulley, dump the waste. Repeat. The shaft was 4 feet across. By the end of September, she had expanded the floor into a vaulted chamber 10 feet wide. She lined the walls with dry stacked fieldstone, each rock tilted slightly outward so the pressure of the surrounding earth locked them into a self-supporting arch. No mortar needed. Gravity did the work if you gave it the right angle. Miller's assistant, Bennett, rode out on day 10 to check her progress. He saw the iron pipes she was dragging toward the wellhead and laughed. "You planning on breathing through a straw, Mrs. Garrett? There's no gold down there and sure as hell no water." Clara didn't look up. "Air is free, Mr. Bennett. Save yours for the ride back." The 2 pipes he laughed at were not decoration. They were engineering. One pipe was buried 6 feet underground and angled to draw fresh air from the surface. As that air traveled 30 feet through the cold earth before reaching her living space, it was tempered, arriving cool in summer, warm relative to the brutal surface air in winter. The second pipe functioned as an exhaust. A baffle plate mounted just below the shaft's opening created a low-pressure zone as wind crossed the top of the well, silently pulling stale air out without a fan, a pump, or a single moving part. She plastered the walls with a mixture of clay, straw, and lime, traded for her wedding ring, sealing every crack to prevent dampness. Behind the stone, she packed layers of charcoal to absorb humidity. She fashioned a heavy insulated hatch from 2 sheets of salvaged iron, stuffed with dried prairie grass, so airtight that when she closed it, the outside world ceased to exist. By the first week of October, the chamber held a steady 55 degrees. The surface baked at 85 during the day and dropped to near freezing at night. Clara lived in neither extreme. She lived in the memory of the season, the Earth's delayed thermal response, storing summer's heat and releasing it slowly through winter's assault. The first frost hit on October 20th, surface temperature 24 degrees. Clara's thermometer read 54. No fire, one candle. She was warm. November 14th, Miller arrived with the county sheriff, ledger in hand, satisfaction on his face. He looked at the barren plot, the mound of displaced clay, and the two strange pipes. He did not see a house. He saw a vacancy. "Time's up, Mrs. Garrett. Where is the habitable structure?" Clara climbed out of the shaft, her clothes the color of deep earth, and without a word, walked to the hatch, unbolted the latch, and swung it open. A breath of warm air hit the sheriff's face, smelling of dry earth and lime. It is 30 feet deep, braced with stone, sealed with lime, ventilated by natural pressure differential. It is more permanent than anything else in this county. Would you like to see the square footage? The sheriff went down first, hand on his holster, expecting a damp cave. What he found was a smooth-walled, whitewashed chamber with a leveled floor, a small desk made from stacking crates, a bedroll on a raised platform, and air that was remarkably, inexplicably fresh. No rot, no chill, no dampness. He climbed back up and looked at Miller with something close to respect. "It's a house, Miller. It has a door, it has air, and it's sturdier than the hotel in town. The deed stands." Miller kicked